Hello, people loved by Christ. Pastor Matt Clark here from Ascension Lutheran. We're reading through the epistles of the New Testament in the course of 1 year, 2025. Thank you for joining us in that reading. Again, you can join anytime. There's a schedule in our news and notes printed every week. That's also available online at ascensionstl.com. This past week's reading was Philippians chapters 1 and 2. The book of Philippians, a book that is written by the Apostle Paul, like so many of these epistles that we're reading through. And he's writing to the people in Philippi, people that he finds joy in, people that he doesn't really have to discipline necessarily or speak that harsh word of law like he did for the people in Galatia just a couple books ago. One of the themes, I think, in these opening chapters is really, I think, encapsulated in chapter 2, verse 4, where Paul writes, "Let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others." Let each of you look not only to your own interests, but also the interests of others. And then throughout those two chapters, boy, I think we really see how Paul does just that and models that for us too and encourages us to do the same. For instance, chapter 1, toward the very beginning there, verse 3, he says, "I thank my God in all my remembrance of you, always in every prayer of mine, for all of you, making my prayer with joy, because of your partnership in the gospel from the first day until now." Again, looking to others' interests, and Paul expresses his thanksgiving that the Philippians have looked to his interests and helped support him and support the spread of the gospel. Looking to the interests of others. Then we also have Paul talking about his imprisonment. Philippians is one of the letters he writes from prison, for sharing the gospel. Paul writes there in chapter 1, verse 12, "I want you to know, brothers, that what has happened to me has really served to advance the gospel. So it has become known throughout the whole imperial guard and to all the rest of my imprisonment for Christ." So even in prison, Paul's looking at the interests of others, saying, hey, my imprisonment is advancing the gospel. Word is spreading that I'm in prison here because of Jesus Christ, and that gives them the opportunity to share the gospel. So again, looking to the interests of others. One more example, Paul writes those famous words in verse 21 of chapter 1, "For to me to live is Christ, but to die is gain." And then Paul goes on to say, which one is better, right? And he says, "To remain in the flesh is more necessary on your account." Yeah, he says, "My desire is to be with Christ, to be with him in heaven. But to me, remain in the flesh is more necessary for your account." Paul realizes that God still has a job for him to do, that he's still one who is sharing the gospel, even from prison through letters, but also through his missionary journeys. And he's thinking again, not just to his own interests, but to the interests of others. Just one more example. The beginning of chapter 2, where Paul says, "Do nothing out of rivalry or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves." And talking about the relationship with each other as Christians there in Philippi, the church, and even those outside of the church as well. So again, to wrap this up, look not only to your own interests, but also the interests of others. Certainly the Apostle Paul did that, and may we do that too. May we do that too. Always inspired and motivated by the one who ultimately did that, Jesus Christ, when he laid down his life on the cross. Not for himself, but for us.